Hello and welcome. I'm Jenny Hall. Thanks for joining me for another card making tutorial. Today I would like to share my creative tips on how to get highlights in a colored image. There's lots of ways that a lot of very talented artists have that they color their images, and today I'm sharing what some of my easiest tips are to get a depth and a dimension out of your colored image. I'm going to be using Santana Rose stamp set from Gina K Designs, and I'm stamping this image with black amalgam ink, and then I'm going to sprinkle on clear embossing powder and then heat set that. And I'm working on Bristol smooth cardstock because I'm going to be using Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers. I have the 48 pack and it has lots of colors to choose from. There are some bigger sets or smaller sets. So my first tip is to follow the artist drawn lines. When I see a stamp set, if there are some kind of shadow lines and then the contours, I take that as a cue of that's where the natural shading and the highlight is going to lie. So for instance, with coloring a flower, then I will put the color directly down on the line of the base of the petal. So where you see the petals overlap one another, I would work down in the very bottom. I usually just draw out one line up from the marker and then another color that's a lighter shade right next to it. And then I use my wet paintbrush or a water brush to bring the color out toward the tip of the petal. This is an easy method to follow, and it never steers me wrong. The one thing that I do is after I smooth out that initial harsh line of color, I dab my paintbrush off on, you can see a green microfiber cloth here. I dab it off so that I can bring less color out to the tip. And if less color is at the tip, then it looks more natural. That's where I can get some highlights. Another way is to use the colorless blender marker after something has already been colored. Zig doesn't sell it in with the set of 48 brush pens that I have, but I purchased it separately. I think you can get it from Ellen Hudson, and that way I can pick up some of that color and remove it. Another way is to add some gray down into the place where those petals overlap. Here you can see I scribbled it on the Waffle Flower Water Media mat, and I'm using my wet brush to just pick up some of the paint. That way it's not quite as gray, as harsh gray. And this is that colorless blender pen. I touch it on the tips of the petal, and then I use my cloth to pick the color up, and it comes right up. And so you can see that it's creating much more dimension in the rose. To color the leaves, I'm coloring it in much the same way. I'm just using 2 or 3 green markers, and I'm laying the color down inside each one of those stamped images of the leaf, and I'm letting the colors blend together inside the walls of that embossing. This is one of the easiest things that I can do to help myself be successful in watercoloring, is to emboss the image, because then my fluid's not going to spill out into the next item over. Now I want to give some natural looking highlights to this rose, so before I cut it out from the paper, I'm going to flick some diluted white acrylic paint. It just takes one little drip and then dilute it out, and then some flick marks are going to work out nicely. And to make this rose really glow, then here is a super easy thing to do, is add perfect pearls. Perfect pearls is one of those things in our craft supply that I think many of us forget about. And it is such a low price point that it can go on anything and give the shimmer and shine that just really makes it glow. If you look how the image is catching the light, that's the perfect pearls that's working its magic. And because I hand cut out this image, then I took my black marker and went along the cut line because Bristol paper is rather thick. Now I'm going to use another Gina K stamp. This is the diagonal stripes background stamp. I'm using the same ink from before. That's the amalgam ink. And I'm using just a 4 1/4 by 5.5 piece of cardstock. Now I've added several different layers of ink just to make sure I get it really nice and crisp. And I'm just going to use a little bit of that. Just one strip is enough to give me some interest. And I thought, well, I don't want a flat white card base, so how about taking another piece of Bristol paper cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5, and I'm taking a very light blue and a very light gray marker and just doing like some watercolor pooling. And nothing special. It's just going to give the eye somewhere else to go deeper into the design. So I'm also adding a few flick marks with the black marker. I'm telling you, this one package of Zig markers or brush pens goes a very long way. It wasn't shown in the video, but I stamped the sentiment from Santana Rose down on the bottom right side with that same amalgam ink as well. Now here comes that little strip. It's just 1 inch wide, and I'm going to adhere the rose with some double-sided foam adhesive, and then I'll attach the whole piece to a top folding card base. Now I'm going to use some of the melted icicle sequins from Trinity Stamps, which are my current favorite. I absolutely adore them, with the Marvy Jewel Picker. And the Jewel Picker is something that it's sticky, but it's not super sticky. And it works perfect for picking up those little tiny things that I can't pick my fingers up very easily. So check out the glow on that rose. And you can see here in the photographs that by using that blender pen, it helped pick that ink up just perfectly. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you in my next video.
Hi, my name is Trip. Thanks for watching the video. See you next time.